Well, good morning. And welcome members to the 30th meeting in 2012 of the Subordinate Legislation Committee. As always, ask members to turn off mobile phones. Agenda item 1 is a decision on taking business in private. It's proposed that the committee takes item 5 in private. This is consideration of a draft report on the Aquaculture and Fisheries Scotland Bill at stage 1. Do members agree to take this in private, please? Do, thank you. Agenda item 2, instruments subject to negative procedure. The Town and Country Planning Miscellaneous Amendments, Scotland Regulations 2012, SSI 2012 325. No points have been raised under any of the reporting grounds, but the instrument raises some general issues about the choice of delegated powers and proper programming of subordinate legislation. Where a choice of enabling powers is available to make provisions in subordinate legislation, the committee would normally expect the provisions to be made under powers which are more specific or tailored to them, rather than more general powers. This will particularly be appropriate when a choice of enabling powers involves a choice of a greater or lesser degree of parliamentary scrutiny of those provisions. The provisions in these regulations could have been made under the more specific powers to make ancillary provisions in section 17.9 of the Public Services Reform Scotland Act 2010, since they directly relate to public service reform matters, rather than the more general powers relating to planning applications in the Town and Country Planning Scotland Act 1997. Had that been done, the provisions could have been included in the draft Public Services Reform Planning Local Review Procedures Scotland Order 2013 and the draft Public Services Reform Planning Pre-Application Consultation Scotland Order 2013, which the committee considered last week. These regulations would not have required an addition to these orders. These regulations would not have been required in addition to those orders, and the provisions would have been subject to a superfirmative procedure, which those instruments are subject to, rather than the negative procedure. This would also have avoided the anomaly that the period within which the Parliament may reject the purely consequential changes made by these regulations is likely to expire prior to the Parliament having determined whether or not it agrees to the two superaffirmative orders which give rise to the necessity of these regulations. Does the committee have any comments on the matter?
No.
We don't. No points have been raised by our legal advisors on the Children's Hearing Scotland Act 2011, Child Protection Emergency Measures Regulations 2012, SSI 2012 334, nor on the Children's Hearing Scotland Act 2011, Rights of Audience of the Principal Reporter Regulations 2012, SSI 2012 335, nor on the Children's Hearing Scotland Act 2011, Appeals Against Dismissal by SCRA Regulations 2012, SSI 2012 337, nor on the Act of Subordinate Fees of Sheriff Officers Amendment Number 2, 2012, SSI 2012 341. Is the committee content with these instruments, please?
Yes.
We are. Agenda item 3, instruments not subject to any parliamentary procedure. No points have been raised by the legal advisors on the Police and Fire Reform Scotland Act 2012, Commencement Number 2, Transitory and Transitional Provisions and Appointed Day Order 2012, SSI 2012 333, nor on the Act of Subordinate Fees of Messengers at Arms, Amendment Number 2, 2012, SSI 2012 340. Is the committee content with these instruments? Agenda item 4, Water Resources Scotland Bill. This item of business is consideration of the Scottish Government's response to the committee's Stage 1 report on the bill. Members will have seen the briefing paper and the response from the Scottish Government. Unless amendments that affect the delegated powers provisions are made to the bill at Stage 2, the committee will not consider it again. Do members have any comments, or are we content to note the response and, if necessary, reconsider the bill after Stage 2?
Noted.
Thank you. At which point I move the meeting into private for item 5.